Hello and welcome to Moment of Truth on Labour Social. I'm Graham Hughes. The Politico website has published an account of how a major post-Brexit trade deal was catastrophically mishandled by then Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Johnson made the blunder during a dinner with the then Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison at number 10 Downing Street, leading to a crucial concession in the Brexit trade deal with Australia. Johnson was tricked into signing a post-Brexit agreement after the Australians exploited a mistake that he made regarding meat import quotas. An Australian official nipped off to the bog to quickly redraft the concession in the form of a formal statement, which then Johnson signed before the dinner ended. Johnson allegedly said he was making the concession to apologise to Australia for Britain joining the EU 50 years earlier. Johnson agreed to measure beef imports by the weight of cuts rather than of the entire cow, effectively allowing a significant increase in Australian meat exports to the UK. Australia High Commissioner George Brandis quickly documented the concession, had it photographed by an aide and returned it to Johnson to sign. The International Trade Secretary at the time, Liz Truss, was furious when she learned of Johnson's concession the next morning. "Your boss has conceded the whole kingdom," an Australian negotiator is said to have said to Liz Truss. Truss wanted to reopen the talks after Johnson's concession, but Scott Morrison threatened to inform the media that the UK was going back on the trade deal. Sorry about the terrible Australian accent here. Johnson denied the claims made in the Politico story, but the website spoke to 5 senior individuals who were personally involved in the negotiations. Meanwhile, Brexit negotiator David Frost was present at the dinner, and Truss advisors believed he was more aware of the details than Johnson, yet didn't say anything, because just like Johnson and Truss, he's a dickhead as well. The trade deal, in effect, since the Australia-UK trade deal, in effect since this week, is expected to increase bilateral trade by a massive, eye-watering £10 billion, which is less than a third of a failed test and trace app. Yeah. And British farmers are furious about the generous tariff-free access given to Australian hormone-injected beef. Presumably even the ones who voted to rip us out of the protectionist EU that they hated so much. Whisper it softly, a lot of those enjoying that protection were, in fact, yes, you guessed it, British farmers. The National Farmers Union, the NFU, has criticised the concessions, calling them a breach of trust and confidence. You have to understand, there were only a handful of possible trade deals outside of the EU that are worth a pan of scouse. And the Tory Brexit scum have so far botched every single one of them. They have stitched up this country. They've saddled future generations with worse trade deals than we had when we were one of the 3 senior members of the European Union. Did you vote for this shit show? Really? Really? Do us a favour. Never vote again. You're too stupid to vote.